Hello, this is me again, and I'd like to read and discuss Daniel chapter 7. In the first year of King Belshazzar of Babylon, Daniel had a dream filled with visions. While he was lying on his bed, then he wrote down the dream in summary fashion. Daniel had a relationship with God, and a little bit of background. During the first year of King Belshazzar of Babylon, Daniel was an older gentleman by this point, and the Lord came to him in dreams. Daniel explained, "I was watching in my vision during the night as the four winds of the sky were stirring up the great sea. Then four large beasts came up from the sea. They were different from one another." What he's describing here is end-time events. And he's getting a vision. He's getting a vision from God because he's walked with God for such a long time. He's developed that relationship, the relationship that is so important for each and every one of us to develop. We often want to know what God thinks or why God lets stuff happen, but we don't want the relationship with him. We don't want to put ourselves out there. We don't want to take the time to develop it. So Daniel has done that, and the Lord is rewarding him, and he's actually showing him things that are end time events. And so here we go. The first one was like a lion with eagle's wings. As I watched, its wings were pulled off and it was lifted up from the ground. It was made to stand on 2 feet like a human being, and a human mind was given to it. A lion with eagle's wings, that's interesting. Had never thought of this till right now. The eagle's the United States and the lion's the Lion of Judah. The wings have to be pulled off. Interesting. Then a second beast. Oh, I don't know about that. Then a second beast appeared like a bear. It was raised up on one side, and there were 3 ribs in its mouth between its teeth. It was told, "Get up and devour much flesh." I guess the lion is a former kingdom. After these things, scroll down. I wish it wouldn't do that. It always goes back to the first chapter. After these things, as I was watching, another beast like a leopard appeared, with 4 bird-like wings on its back. This beast had 4 heads, and ruling authority was given to it. After these things, as I was watching in the night visions, a 4th beast appeared, one dreadful, terrible, and very strong. It had 2 large rows of iron teeth. It devoured and crushed, and anything that was left it trampled with its feet. It was different from all the beasts that came before it, and it had 10 horns. So Daniel's getting a vision of the end times here. Whoops. I clicked on 8. As I was contemplating the horns, another horn, a small one, came up between them, and 3 of the former horns were torn out by the roots to make room for it. This horn had eyes resembling human eyes, and a mouth speaking arrogant things. And I'm reading this because this is going to scare Daniel. This is a man who walked with the Lord, saw many things. He knew his friends were cast in the fiery furnace. He himself was put in a lion's den. And yet this vision of the end times scared him to the point And this is a man who had walked with God for a number of years and had developed that relationship. So the fact that it scared him to the point that he trembled and he couldn't sleep and he didn't eat and everything else, it's amazing to see, to think about what was that disturbing to him. I mean, we read the text, we see this, and it's just like, well, what's so scary here? I mean, well, it's all scary, but it really got to Daniel, and that's why I picked this chapter. On to verse 9. While I was watching the thrones were set up, and the Ancient of Days took his seat. His attire was white like snow. The hair of his head was like lamb's wool. His throne was ablaze with fire, and its wheels were all aflame. Okay, I can scroll down, but I can't get it to tab to the next verse. Interesting. Well, that's frustrating. A river of fire was streaming forth and proceeding from his presence. Many thousands were ministering to him. Many tens of thousands stood ready to serve him. The court convened, and the books were opened. So he sees the Ancient of Days, he sees the Lord, and he sees a judgment happening. So on to verse 11. The books were opened, so judgment is about to occur. Then I kept watching because of the arrogant words of the horn that was speaking. I was watching until the beast was killed and its body destroyed and thrown into the flaming fire. I see in my day a denial of God, a turning from God. You always see a little bit, or I've always seen a little bit of that, but it's getting more and more pronounced. It's almost like we don't need him. And then when I see this, the arrogant words that the horn was speaking, Daniel couldn't believe it. Here is God. Everybody knows he's God, and yet this person is being arrogant toward him. Just an interesting thing to think about. As for the rest of the beasts, their ruling authority had already been removed, though they were permitted to go on living for a time and a season. So this beast, this person was given authority and took the others. It was a puppet government. I was watching in the night visions, and with the clouds of the sky, one like a son of man was approaching. He went up to the Ancient of Days and was escorted before him. To him was given ruling authority, honor, and sovereignty. All peoples, nations, and language groups were serving him. His authority is eternal and will not pass away. His kingdom will not be destroyed. So the Lord is putting Jesus on the throne on the earth. Is that scary to Daniel? Don't think so. So, as for me, Daniel, my spirit was distressed, and the visions of my mind were alarming me. This is the verse that sort of is the reason I did this. Daniel's given a number of visions at the end of his life after walking with God his whole life, and it distresses his spirit, and it alarms him. Now, interestingly, he was distressed. He had a relationship with the Lord. What happens? I approached one of those standing nearby and asked him about the meaning of all this. So he spoke with me and revealed to me the interpretation of the vision. So He not only saw the vision, it alarmed him, he expressed it, and now he's going to get the interpretation. These large beasts, four in number, represent four kings who will rise from the earth. The holy ones of the Most High will receive the kingdom and will take possession of the kingdom forever and ever. In other words, the holy ones of the Most High, the saints, will receive the kingdom. We will receive the kingdom on earth. There will be an earthly kingdom. Again, I don't see how that is necessarily disturbing. I would think that would be good news for him. Then I wanted to know the meaning of the fourth beast, which was different from all the others. It was very dreadful. Two rows of iron teeth and bronze claws, and it devoured, crushed, and trampled anything that was left at its feet. This, I think, is what he was fearful of, a kingdom worse than all the others. And as we look at the kingdoms of the world and things that have happened in the past, and dictatorships and oppression and everything else, Daniel experienced that in his day. I mean, in Babylon, they would go in and conquer countries and then relocate them and everything else. Relocate people to that spot. He relocated. He saw some pretty terrible things from our standpoint. He saw the king just decide to throw him in the lion's den. So, you know, he's seen firsthand rulers who were not right, and yet this vision, this fourth beast, seems to have scared him. So now verse 20. I also want to know the meaning of the 10 horns on its head, and of that other horn which came up, and before which 3 others fell. This was the horn that had eyes and a mouth speaking arrogant things. Its appearance was more formidable than the others. While I was watching, that horn began to wage war against the holy ones and was defeating them. This goes along with a passage in Matthew, I think, that where Jesus says that people will be taken from the temple and caused to stand trial. So maybe this is what is getting him. In this kingdom, there is a leader who will wage war against the holy ones, against the Christians, and will seemingly be winning. Now, in Daniel's day, every time he stood up for the Lord, he was protected. Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego did not get burned up in the fiery furnace. But this seems to say there'll be a time when people will be killed for their beliefs, and it's happening today. I live in a place where it doesn't happen, but it does happen. People are persecuted exactly for their beliefs. So this horn is waging war, defeating them, until the Ancient of Days arrived, and judgment was rendered in favor of the holy ones of the Most High. Then the time came for the holy ones to take possession of the kingdom. So the Lord is going to let his people be persecuted openly, and I believe in worldwide fashion, and I think we're really close to it until he comes along. This is what he told me. The fourth beast means that there will be a fourth kingdom on earth that will differ from all other kingdoms. It will devour all the earth and will trample and crush it. The fourth kingdom will become God, if you will, or try and become God. Will worldwide. It will have to protect the earth. It will have to do this. It will have to do that. Instead of being a steward, it will be proactive. And we're either entering that phase or we're just getting a foretaste of it. We absolutely should be good stewards of our environment, but you can also go too far in protecting the environment. So I think we're caught there. The 10 horns means that 10 kings will arise from that kingdom. Another king will arise after them, but he will be different from the earlier ones. He will humiliate 3 kings. He will speak words against the Most High. He will harass the holy ones of the Most High continually. His intention will be to change times established by law. They will be delivered into his hand for a time, times, and half a time. So this person, this king in this kingdom, is going to harass the holy ones continually and will speak against the Most High. He will be opposed to God. Not that you can really be opposed to the Creator, but he will think in his mind he can do that and get away with it. But the court will convene and his ruling authority will be removed, destroyed, and abolished forever. This is only going to happen for, depending on your interpretation, most people say 3.5 years. Then the kingdom authority and the greatness of the kingdoms under all of heaven will be delivered to the people of the holy ones of the Most High. His kingdom is an eternal kingdom. All authorities will serve and obey him. So, it's not about a certain religion, promoting a religion. What I'm about is promoting a relationship. Promoting a relationship to the Lord. If you have a proper relationship to him, and if you seek him, you will find him. Let me read the last verse and then I'll sum up. This is the conclusion of the matter. As for me, Daniel, my thoughts troubled me greatly, and the color drained from my face, but I kept the matter to myself. A relationship to the Lord is the most important thing. And we can look out over our world, we can look out at all the problems we see, and we can say that this needs to be different, and that needs to be different. We should do this, we should do that. And it's all external as it relates to the world. The point I'm trying to make is you have to have a relationship to the Lord. It's an internal thing. If you get that relationship right, even if they throw you in the lion's den, you'll be okay. In the last days, if they throw you in the lion's den, the lion might. It's still about the relationship with the Lord. I'm not advocating any religion, I'm advocating a relationship. One of the things I like to say is I did not create the world. And since we can all say that, then it stands to reason that we all have to realize that we are created beings. Because we didn't make ourselves. Something made us. Depending on how you look at it, wherever you want to go, which means we are not in control. And there is that higher authority, that higher power, that ancient of days, that relationship with the Lord who did create the heavens and the earth. And what he wants from each and every one of us is relationship. if enough of us will get our relationships right, then his kingdom comes. His kingdom's going to come anyway. But if we get our relationship right, then we can endure the things that we see in this world that go awry, and we can long for what's spoken of here in Daniel. The interesting thing about this chapter, Daniel kept the matter to himself. He wrote it down, but he didn't run around and saying, hey, he got this vision from God and everybody should do this and everybody should do that. That is part of the relationship. Having a relationship to the Lord so close and sharing things with Him to the point that you don't feel like you can share them with others. And there are things that you can talk to God about that you can't talk to others about. Because if you talk to others about some things, they often fly off the handle, and they'll do this and they'll do that, and they'll make assumptions, and it just doesn't end well. So you wind up keeping things to yourself. Well, God is there. Your Creator is there. He wants that relationship with you. He wants you to share those things with Him. You can share things with other people. You can share your thoughts, your fears, hopes, dreams with other people. Sometimes they'll get caught up in it. Sometimes they'll say no. But what we're after with the Lord is that you're sharing your hopes and dreams with Him, and He's sharing His hopes and dreams with you, and you say, hey, yours are the better. And that you let Him come in, and then you see that His way is, in fact, the right way, the best way. Okay, end of Daniel chapter 7. Thanks for listening.